You are listening to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss our RC adventures.
Welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss the ups and downs of the new RC Flyer. Join your hosts, Michael and Jay, as they take flight at the park. Now on with the show.
Jay from the hills of Texas.
And we are closing out the show today at the Arizona Electric Festival 2024. It has been a wonderful weekend. It's been filled with a lot of ups and downs and a lot of exciting things. We had a really good attendance.
Yeah, we had 176 cars parked, which is about double.
That's amazing.
And, lots of spectators. We had 2 food vendors. They were pumping out food left and right, and actually the one that ran out of gas, the propane, so I had to give them a propane tank to keep cooking. So good for them.
It is good for them.
Yeah.
So
54 pilots.
yeah,
Great raffle, great noon show, great awards.
Yeah.
Night fly, we had a great night fly.
we did have a good night fly. I think
We did have one complaint.
we did have a complaint. Yeah.
What was the complaint?
Well, the guy arrived a little late, and we.
He's like, this is supposed to be going to 9 o'clock. It's only 8:30. What? There's nobody here. What's up with that?
Was that the guy with the kids?
Yeah, it was. He was a good guy. I mean, I gave him a sticker and some
Yeah.
stuff. So if you're listening to the podcast, we appreciate you coming
Yes,
out.
we
We
do.
know,
Thank
but
you.
thank you very much. And
I
we
can't
just
control how long people stay to fly.
yeah,
That's something I have no
unfortunately, you
control over.
can't.
You can't leave
Yeah,
till
you
9.
can't.
Well, I gotta go home.
I
Show
did.
off
I
the
did
gates.
mention that though. I did. I
So
told
should have
him.
locked the gates.
My batteries.
No, it's actually, believe it or not, he came out and kind of was like, "Oh man, I really wish that you guys, were going till 9." And I told him, I said, "Well, we've been flying pretty regular, and the batteries are pretty much done." And
Yeah.
I said, some people bolted out, and it was getting a little chilly. But I was able to talk to the kids. They actually, were interested, and we kind of pointed them in the right direction. So maybe he'll grab a real flight and kind of get the kids involved.
Hey,
So.
good segue. One thing I noticed that this was the most kids I've seen at this event.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, we had a lot more younger presence, and that's been one of my big pushes to get kids out here. And
Right.
I gave one of our kid pilots an award because he's putting his heart into it, and he was happy as a clam. His dad was happy, and and he earned it.
Yeah, he did earn it.
Really,
He is. And actually, I don't know if they probably a couple of kids out.
yeah, there was a couple guys.
Yep,
up now.
there's a couple
Yeah,
kids
we,
behind us out there flying, I think, and on the flight line. So they're having fun. They've been flying a lot of different equipment.
Yep.
And it's been kind of fun watching them.
Yeah, they wanted to drop some bombs this morning with little firecrackers, and probably go, "We can drop the bombs with no firecrackers."
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think they did it earlier this morning.
Yeah, I heard a pop, pop. Yeah.
And I think
we
somebody's
had
like,
a-
"Hey, you should go ask permission."
One of the guys flying FPV, with the goggles,
Yep,
goggles
that's
he's
right.
flying around. Well, he was flying really, really low out over like where the tracks are, like
Yeah.
the horseback trails. and
Yeah.
We're like, you need to bring it up a notch because you could scare a horse or
Yeah.
knock a guy off of a mountain,
of a mountain bike.
Yeah, so oh, sorry.
Oh.
Yeah.
What the heck?
I don't want to.
We don't have more complaints.
I don't want
Yeah.
to fill out the paperwork on that one.
Yeah, no doubt. No. Well, it's it's always a pleasure to kind of come out and see the event, and each event's a little different, and I think this one was very successful. We had a lot of good things happening, and we saw a lot of people, and I think Jay and I probably were talking about it yesterday, but I think the spectators this year were way bigger than they have been.
Yes, the
And-
news, the news.
And I
definitely enabled that.
liked the way that Horizon had set up their little booth, because they put all their tables along. Normally we have the tables kind of going left and right, but they put their tables against the fence line where all the spectators could talk to them. And
Yep.
so then they got a lot of people standing along the fence, and we did as well. And like we talked about yesterday, I think the Park Flyer jerseys are the what do you call these?
Hoodies.
The hoodies. Yeah,
Hoodies.
the hoodies. The hoodies were kind of a hit, and I had several people asking, "Hey, where do we get those?" They were pretty excited. But the Spectator. I think the news did an incredible job. Somebody said they ran it on Saturday morning too.
Yes,
right?
they did. Yeah,
So,
so I got
so I
calls
think there were
after
people that kind of saw that, and it's been great. So, any highlights that I mean, we didn't
of course,
talk
my
about
biggest
last time?
highlight, I think we talked about already, was I think the sailplane, the Cessna, and a good night flight. I actually had 2 planes that were kind of.
Oh yes,
Iffy.
your
Yeah,
second
that's
plane
right,
was
second
pretty
plane.
spectacular.
Yeah, so my first plane was the night rating, but I couldn't find the original spar, so I made one before I came out to the
You
field
whittled one
yesterday.
out of wood.
Yeah,
Well, you
yeah,
made it out of
literally.
paper mache.
Yeah.
That's
made
what
it
I
out of
asked him
air.
He rolled up some newspaper, stuck it in there.
There
But
you
no,
go.
but I flew it, and the wing didn't.
It didn't fold.
No,
Yeah, but
it
you weren't
flexed
doing
a
any lot. major aerobatics or anything.
No,
like
when
that.
He was trying to recreate what he saw Ali doing.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I can't quite do that. He's
That's
one of a
funny.
kind.
Yeah.
And then then I had the Flex Innovations Cessna 170, and for some reason I thought I had to make this like crazy adapter, and one of the guys from Flex was like, no, you just plug it in and it worked. And then when I turned on the radio, it turned off.
Yep.
And then the guy's like, well, if you just unplug that channel, because I didn't program the channel to turn the lights on or off, he says it'll still work. And it worked. And we flew it, and success.
And then it turned off kind of when you bounced
Had
it.
a little flicker.
And then it flicked, and Mike's going, oh, I would land.
Yeah.
And I'm like, go for it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it'll flicker.
That's
But
funny.
If you want to feel alive, just go up there. Let that
Yeah.
light just go out.
Speaking of Mike, I think if you're looking, watching the video, you can probably see him in the background. Mike won the 40 millimeter EDF from Horizon Hobby.
Yep.
It's a F-14 Tomcat twin
Yep.
40 millimeter EDF.
Yep.
And he was super excited about it. He's like, man, I want a plane, And I think we got a picture of him and you guys all with your planes. Anyway, he put his together, and then he's like, I don't really have a place to fly this here, And I was like, well, you could leave it with me, and when you come into town, you can go fly it. And he's like, well, yeah, I don't know. He didn't really know what to do, so he's like, well, you think we can fly it here? And I was like, yeah, sure, give it a shot. So I took him out and walked him through. I did the initial flight, and then I told him, okay, here you go, and he's like, well, walk me through it. So I did, and man, that guy's been flying that ever since. I mean, he's like,
a couple flights in it.
yeah, he borrowed Bob Ruff's batteries, and
Yeah.
man, he's just been burning through.
Yeah.
I don't, I mean, this morning he was out, the first guy, and he was out flying that thing. So I'm excited that he's excited, and he's done a really good job. And this airplane has safe mode in it.
Yeah.
And so I think it gave him a little confidence. And, at first when he flew it, he's kind of like, what does this mean? And so I walked him through. But he was able to land this thing, and now that he's more comfortable with it, he's starting to kick it out into the different modes. But it's super exciting to see him out there. So I know we didn't get him in front of the camera this year, but he's
Mike,
been good.
Pete Mitchell, Maverick.
Yeah, that's right. They called him Maverick. Pete Mitchell, Maverick.
Pete Mitchell.
That's funny. So, but other than that, everything I think went well. My highlights this week were watching the kids fly.
Yeah.
And watching the demonstration. I will tell you that going back to the night fly, we kind of touched on the night fly because we're just getting to it, but about halfway through the night fly, the Flex Innovations guys came out with their Twin Otter.
Oh my goodness.
And Bryce asked me, he's like, have you flown this thing? And I was like, no. He's like, well, here, I'll get you to fly it. And I was like, dude, I don't know. I'm having a harder time seeing everything starting to turn purple as I get older. I can see this night flying. And he's like, no, this thing will work. And so they brought it out. When they plugged it in, the entire airplane lit up.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Like it's not just lights like you would see normal, LED strips.
Yeah,
this is like the whole plane. The fuselage is lit. The wings are lit. I mean, you can definitely
It's the
see.
Illuminati.
Oh yeah, it is the Illuminati. Yeah, it's crazy. And then the things they were able to do with that thing was just phenomenal.
And
Yeah, and Bryce let me fly it earlier because
Yeah,
after I had
yeah.
my little mishap, and then he's like, "Hey man, you got to put a smile back on that face.
Right.
I'll let you fly this thing."
Right.
And I will tell you, they definitely have the gyros dialed in
Mm-hmm.
because he's like, "Okay, just jam those sticks in the corner." And I'm like, "Okay, that's like counterintuitive to what most of my flying. Jam that stick in the corner.
Yeah.
It's just things you don't normally do with a
Yeah.
plane, like a big old plane
Right,
like that."
right.
So he goes, "Jam that thing in there." I'm like, "Okay." Jam the sticks in the corner, and the thing just starts spinning. Wow, 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 wow. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" He goes, "Okay, just release the sticks."
Yep,
It just
we're back
came
to
out of it
normal.
and just started flying. I'm like, "Oh." And so my face started to hurt because I was smiling so much.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to
And,
get
he,
that
and
in.
he's just like, "Okay, now fly like this, do like this. Now jam that thing in the corner. Now flip it over. Now just do something crazy." And he's like, "Okay, this is the way you get it into a flat spin, and this is the way you get it to spin, going the other way just with your rudder. Put your rudder and put a little bit of aileron in there. Okay, okay, tighter, more. Okay, half throttle. Okay, there you go. See, it's staying right there. And I'm like, wow. Okay, now bring it out and just go into a hover. He goes, now don't touch the sticks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that is so cool.
Yeah.
So no matter what you did with this thing, I would get into just these crazy gyrations, doing the flat spins, doing whatever you want to call the maneuvers. And you just had to let go of the sticks. You kept about half throttle, and it would just come right out of it and just start flying level. And I'm just like, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I know you did have a.
Sold one. You're my one, huh?
Yeah.
I want to, but I have to talk to Mama first because that's going to be a little bit. Well, it's tax time, so I might be able to. Hey, that thing that you wanted. I mean, how many sofas do we really need?
Yeah. We could sell this one and buy this one.
Yeah.
Or buy an airplane.
There you go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I was really amazed. They did a really good night demo. It was truly amazing. And I started laughing because the timer went off, and he probably flew for another 3 minutes.
Yeah. It even though it takes 2 batteries, it really fly. I mean, you can fly it on less than half throttle.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
For all the stuff that I never went above half. Because he's like, okay, this is the gyro setting if you're going to go screaming balls out to the wall, whatever. And I go, well, I don't need to do that. He goes, okay, we'll just keep it here and keep it below half throttle. If you go over, the gyro's too sensitive for that speed. When you go over that. And I'm like, okay. And so half the time he's like, you're going too slow. And I'm like, okay, I'm at half throttle. And he's like, no, you're not. And I'd have to look down at the stick, and I mean, the plane was flying on half of the half throttle.
Yeah, the quarter.
Yeah, on a quarter throttle. No problem.
Huh.
No problem.
Well, it's got a big Hershey bar wing, so there's a lot of lift.
Oh, it's got tons.
The
And the plane's light. Did you ever pick it
I
up?
never picked it up. No.
Yeah. So the first time I went, you kind of braced to pick it up, and it was like, whoa.
Wow.
I was like, all right, I like this.
So the one thing I did notice, and I talked to him about it, is that their counter-rotating props, most counter-rotating props go inside.
Yeah.
His go outside, which is why he's able to do a lot of those crazy gyration things. But I will tell you that if one quit, you're hosed. You're done. Because that's the P-38, the real P-38 had that same thing, external counter-rotating. So both engines were critical. And if you lose an engine, the airplane's not going to be able to fly on a single engine. So that's kind of one of those things that you kind of got to be aware of. But what was amazing to me, too, is when they pitched the aircraft up into the hover, then the engines, the way they had the gyro set up, the engines were flexing to keep the nose.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like you were using rudder. He's like, I just let go of the rudder, and it just goes, you'd hear this motor, and you could see it kind of correcting it. So he's done a really good job with that, and they've programmed it really well. But it is amazing. And is it currently on the market, or is it coming?
It's pre-order.
Pre-order only. Okay, so you have to pre-order one.
If you order right now, it's $20 off retail.
Yeah.
Flexinnovations.com would be the place to go for that.
Yeah, flexinnovations.com. It is very
or go to Critical RC.
Or Critical RC. Yeah. That'll be better. I think the $20 off is through Critical RC.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yep.
So if you go through Flex and they're like, what? That's a show special for Critical. So but they did a great job. His crew was pretty amazing. So what was your highlights?
Well, pretty much, like I said, flying that particular aircraft, flying the Otter, once again, seeing the sailplanes. We didn't really have any spectacular crashes. Usually we have one notable crashes, but really, other than mine.
I was going to say we had one notable one.
But other than mine, and that was kind of after everything during the show. I didn't do that during the show or during
we had
everything.
one in the fence, didn't we?
Kinda.
Yeah, we did have one kind of hit the fence, but it wasn't like super spectacular.
It didn't get turned into balsa dust or.
No, the one over here. You're right. Yeah.
But
no, he dead sticked it in, so that was the only option.
Yeah.
That was a big 737 from Motion RC.
Was it the Iron Maiden one?
It was the Iron Maiden one.
Man.
Yep. And he took off and he went around, and I think he was coming into land. So I don't know if he had flown a little bit too long, or there was enough guys where he couldn't come in for the landing.
Okay.
When he turned base leg out there, he goes dead stick, and it was headed to the crowd.
Yeah.
So he tried not to, he actually flew over the deadline, turned it back to the runway, but he couldn't clear the fence, and it hit right at the top of the fence. So spectators got a wonderful view of that, unfortunately.
I missed it.
But there was, it cheese grated that thing, just went right into the fence, and of course chain link and foam never is a good combination. And then you had a kind of a mishap. Your Viper kind of went crazy.
Well, I lucked out this year, and I actually won a Viper.
Yeah.
I actually won a plane after 10 years of coming, and finally won one, and I was super stoked.
Mm-hmm.
Slapped it together, easily to put together, and
it was a bind and fly.
and it was a bind and fly, and we got it out there, and excited, and it had plenty of power. Popped it off the runway, sucked up the gear, went into my first right-hand turn, and it went in, and it didn't come out, and
it just rolled over.
It just rolled over and wacko into the ground, and I was like, okay, not much I could do, and it wasn't like it kind of came out and hit and broke off a piece or two. It was a full-on.
Yeah,
right into that nice
punched,
soft desert out there.
It punched the desert pretty hard.
Yeah.
But the good news is that wings survived, tail survived, everything. It was on.
Well, I got to buy a new fuselage. I have to get a new canopy. Yeah. The only bad part is it's a newer plane, so those things are quite premium. Like I can't even get a canopy now. They're all just they're all back ordered.
Yeah.
But I can get a fuselage. And I could probably repair the canopy that I have, but
does the canopy come with the fuselage?
No.
No, it's separate.
Nothing. So basically, I have to strip everything off my model because even the lights, just the little doohickey things that are on it, I have to strip off the one that I have and put it onto the fuselage. I mean, nothing comes with.
Gotcha.
When they say fuselage, that's all they mean.
Bare fuselage.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Down to the stickers.
The stickers don't come with it either.
No, that's that's $20 separate.
Now you can do your own paint job.
That's true. You could do your own paint job.
I'm going to go with the
Park Flyer podcast.
Oh, there you go. I was going to say I'm going to go with the Mike Barcelou.
The white only.
White on white, it works perfect.
Hey, I'm going to fly in the snow. What's a good color scheme? White on white.
There you go.
How do you tell what's up? The wheels are hanging down. You can tell. Or skis. The skis are orange.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yep.
Those are fun times. Well, we have great weather today here too, which is so funny. And there's a lot of spectators have come.
Yeah, actually,
we've got guys flying.
Too,
yeah,
so
a lot of people flying.
They kind of came late though. Like I was here at 7, which is late for me.
Yeah.
And you guys.
Yep. We were here.
That was it. And then I got things going, and a few other people started rolling in. But yeah, we got Ma's Kitchen out here today.
Yeah, they're all kind of rolling
in. And I think we're having a good time. So I'm very happy. Been running this now since I think 2015 was my first year running this, and definitely in the top 3. Yeah. I'd say. I mean, they've all been good, but I think there was one a couple years ago that was just primo, and this is pretty close, if not there.
Well, I'll say from a weather standpoint, although it was a little cool, it wasn't cold. I mean, we've been here where it's been colder.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, even though we had actual rain, which Arizona rain, but it rained pretty good. But normally, what gets us is like about 2 o'clock in the morning. All of a sudden, the wind picks up.
Yeah.
The hurricane gales and planes are flying because people leave all their planes out here, and then we're running out here chasing all the planes and strapping everybody's stuff down, and we didn't have any of that this year. Everything.
We got lucky. So I mean, I think the weather cooperated. Considering what we were expecting, but because there was forecast of a lot worse weather, there was a lot of people, especially from out of town, that said, "Hey, I'm gonna pass coming this year," or they would show up just as a spectator on Saturday or whatever and hang out. But I'm very happy. If I haven't expressed that enough, it's been a great weekend and great to spend with you guys. We don't get to see each other in person very often, and I get to see Mike once in a while. But Jay, I mean, I see you once a year.
Right.
Hopefully, we were talking about this. We might change that up a little bit if we can.
Yeah, we might. Yeah, we've got a couple ideas for the upcoming season, and with Shannon joining us, it's kind of gives us a whole new kind of persona of what we need to do, and he's got some great ideas. So.
Well, I know we got one show coming up with his plane.
Oh, that's true. We do. Yeah,
I'm
sure. Coming up with the T-28 Trojan.
Yep, I'm gonna get that thing together.
That's true.
And,
we got that going for us.
We'll talk about that probably on the next episode.
That's very cool.
Or so.
See, I took the hit for you.
You did.
Because he said I asked him if he wanted to trade planes, and he's like, "Well, maybe."
Yeah.
Well, when you
And if we
when
would have
you
traded, I might have actually felt bad about the plane going.
Nah,
I went out
don't
there and
know
the plane went in, man. Oh, too bad.
I don't know if there's too many what ifs there to
Yeah.
even think about that. I just winning that plane. It was a little weird because I'm the CD of the event, but I'm a paid pilot just like everybody else. I draw a chip just like everybody else.
That's
and,
true.
We don't. I'm not going to put it back. I earned it.
Right. Yeah. He was kind of feeling guilty yesterday. I was like, dude, don't worry about it.
But I'm going to fly it. I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to thank Horizon Hobby for being such a great sponsor and providing that. And I'm going to definitely use it to promote.
Well, speaking of that, we do need to thank Horizon Hobby because they did step up huge this year.
Yeah.
I mean, they gave a lot of airplanes. FMS gave a lot of airplanes.
FMS.
So,
Castle, Emax, Function Graphics made the my shirts for the event, which were a big hit for me. I love those. Critical RC out here. Zap House of Balls have been here forever. They're great guys. Eflux RC. Who else? RTL Fasteners chipped in again this year. RCBattery.com, another big supporter of us, and I really thank them for that.
Yeah.
And there's a few other ones. I should remember them all by heart now, but I think I got most of the big ones. So, but everyone's been real happy with the raffle prizes, and
I think Horizon gave a raffle too, right? The Beach 18 was.
Yeah, they gave us a D18 for the jet event.
Oh,
It just didn't quite fit with the jet event.
Gotcha.
So we held on to it and said, let's just do it, and we didn't have as big a crowd there.
Right.
So we're like, let's do it when we have a bigger crowd, and we did really well with that raffle. A guy came and collected it last night.
Yeah.
That won it, so he was excited. He's I know the guy. He doesn't fly here regularly, but he's been around the hobby for a long time, and a good guy. So it's going to a good home.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, we would once again like to thank the Horizon Hobbies. They did a great job. We loved being next to them. It was very entertaining for us, and they would.
Their guys are so great. And
They are
James,
great. James was good.
He's my co-CD, helped me out a huge amount. I lost my regular co-CD Pat Gagnon last year, and I didn't really. I kind of sort of had one last year, then I kind of didn't.
Right.
But James stepped up, and as a result of being the co-CD for this, he now is going to go on to be the CD, and I forget how it's working, but for the Jet Rally.
Oh, okay.
Coming up in November,
Good.
he's kind of stepping up in the world to help
Well,
out
very
with the
good.
events.
Yep, he deserves it.
And Tony and John and Allie, of course, just great guys, and they really represent the hobby and
so
make it easy for us.
Speaking of that, yesterday I didn't mention this, but towards the end of the day, right before the night fly, Horizon was kind of gearing up to get out of here, and John and I were talking, and John and I, kind of go way back, and he asked me if I had ever flown the Crescendo, and I said, nah, I've never flown. He goes, come on. So he gave me his radio, put the new battery in, and then Tony's like, wait, let me go fly too. And so me and Tony went out, and we flew those little UMX.
Oh, I didn't know that. So what'd you think?
Dude, I was literally giggling. You remember when we flew the wings out in New Mexico, and we were just giggling like schoolgirls? Tony and John and I were having so much fun. That airplane is amazing. I mean, it is amazing. You would never suspect that it flies the way it flies.
Yeah. Well, their demo they did yesterday.
So, the demo, you kind of see it and you think to yourself, okay, well, that's, those are professional pilots, When I get my own, I mean, there's no way I can do any of that stuff. Well, we went out and John says, okay, this is the mode. Look at your switches, and I'm going to tell you this switch is the launch switch. So when you're ready to get out of the launch and fly it, you have to hit this switch. He goes, but I'm going to tell you, when I throw it, you just go full power, and when you're ready to take it, you turn the switch off. And I was like, okay, so don't touch anything? He said, literally put the transmitter by your side and hold the transmitter down. He goes, don't even look at it. Just hold it by your side. And he goes, and then when you go full throttle, let me know. And so he's holding it like this, and all I did was put the transmitter down, and the throttle's touching my knee. So I went full throttle with my knee, right?
Yep.
And he just tossed it. And as soon as it left his hand, it went to 15 degrees nose up, wings level, and just started tracking out.
Wow.
And he goes, there you go. And I was like, no way. He's like, yeah, it's launch mode. So I picked the radio up and I flipped it off, and then you could tell the nose drops over, and then I have full control of it.
Yeah.
And I did so much stuff. He's like, dude, this is just so much fun. So Tony and I started doing, we rolled inverted, and we started doing inverted outside loops
Oh, wow.
at full throttle. And both of us were making these little circles, just like, you know. And I was laughing, and Tony was laughing because he's like, oh, which one's mine again? You know, because we're so close to each other. It's like a fur ball. And I'm like, I don't know. And I look up, and I did something, and all of a sudden the airplane that I thought was mine didn't do what I wanted to, but this one was kind of like, whoa. And I was like, oh, I got to be over here. So John's like, yeah, don't crash my plane. And so then he goes, pull the power to idle and let it just glide around. So I pulled the power, and that thing slowed way down like the Walrus did today. And it just hung there, and it was just sinking, you know, just kind of. He goes, they are great slope soarers.
Yep.
You just put them out there, and they just ride the wind. And he goes, now, I came down to about knee height above the ground. He goes, you want to see something fun? Punch it. He goes, just full throttle right now. And I'm like, really? And he goes, yeah. So I hit full throttle, and it was like a cat launch, man. This thing just, I mean, it just zipped out like somebody had pulled it back on a slingshot and let go of it.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, I cruised up to altitude, and then I started whipping it around again. And it turns really hard. It's really fast. It does all these amazing things. And anyway, and it flew for probably 5 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah,
on that one battery.
Plane. Yeah.
So and then
it's a 3-cell 300, I think.
It might be, 3-cell 300, but it was crazy fast and yet crazy slow at the same time.
Yeah.
But I had so much fun, and those guys, you know, they've always let me kind of fly some of the airplanes, but it was amazing, and they were really impressed with the Cessna. Tony mentioned, he's like, man, that Cessna flew really good. You did a good job. He said the landing was just a butter, and he goes, it looks really stable, and he said, who owns that airplane now? I said, I do. He goes, oh, so it's coming to Sun Valley. I can fly it later. I said, yeah, probably. So he was laughing, but it was a good time with those guys. I really liked the Crescendo. It was very fun, and it's a small enough airplane because it's UMX that you can just throw it in your bag and go.
You in the box and put it in the trunk.
And I know watching while we're doing this podcast, I was watching AK Mike walking back forth. He's got the pits now, the UMX pits that I have. And he's been out there flying it too.
Yeah, a lot of guys in the field flying.
Yeah, it's good. We got a lot of kids here that are kind of coming out. So
actually, quite a few. Once again, spectators.
Yeah, spectators everywhere. They're all kind of lined up on the fence watching our podcast as well. So that's very cool. Well, I can't believe that this year went by so fast. I mean, this event went by so fast this year, and it is amazing to me how quick these 4 days go by. It just boom. So.
I spend so much time getting ready for it. You guys do too, and but it's all worth it.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely worth it.
I went home. I was exhausted last night. Poured myself a little drink. I'm not a big drinker, but I had a little drink last night just to take the edge off.
This is a kids show.
Well, we're adults, but I'm definitely
you probably deserved it.
Yeah. So it's not. It's I can count on my hands. I've had a drink this year, and that's one of them. So. It's but yeah, it was just I was like I had a great day.
Well, if it's any consolation, I didn't even get that far. I walked in and just was like,
yeah, dude, he was
right
out.
To bed,
he was
man.
out last
night. I told the guys like 5 minutes. We did some podcast, work online, and then I just told them I was like, dude, I can't keep my eyes open. I don't know why I'm so tired.
Oh, it was a busy day.
The pizza.
It's the pizza. It must be the pizza.
All
sure.
Pizza, all those carbs made me tired.
Yeah.
So, but no, it was a great time, and we had a good time, and I was happy to see, how excited Mike and Jay both were here, and it's been a really, really fun event.
Yes.
So, looking forward to next year.
Yeah, so we're crossing the threshold. We're into year 21, and
that's crazy.
We'll see what we can do to spruce it up. I think as a whole, it runs itself. Almost to a degree. I mean, I've got everything. I've got all the right people in place, and my processes and things. I think I'm, pretty good to go. Most important thing is getting the pilots out.
Yep.
And because this is a pilots event, and that's something I've always, pressed it.
I think this having the newscasters come out.
Yeah.
Was big.
Definitely.
And now since that went over and people liked it, and it was a good segue. It'll be easier to get those guys come out. you got a lot of traffic
Oh
from
yeah,
it. A lot of traffic.
And we do, I put out a press release every event we have, and I
Yeah.
actually do it twice. I do it kind of a couple weeks before, and I do it the week after to remind them. And luckily hey, I got one, so reel them in.
right.
And
Well, I think that they had a good time, so maybe it's something they'll remember for next year.
Yeah, and every time they come out here, they're it's great. And I think Fox 10's been out here the most over the years. We've had most of the channels at one point or another. I think one's ignored us, but even though you had a friend in the newsroom, they're just like,
Yeah.
unless somebody's getting run over or house burning down, we don't want to cover it.
Right.
Well, we don't want any getting run over or burning here.
Yeah, we
none
don't
of
want that
that.
here,
None of that.
No.
It's not Burning Man.
No. Well, that's amazing. Well, we're going to head back out to the line. Thank you very much for joining us for the Park Flyer podcast here and at the Arizona Electric Festival 20th anniversary held here in 2024. We sure appreciate your patronage. Send us an email at parkflyerpodcast.com or jump onto our YouTube channel and subscribe. We trying this new format, so please let us know if it worked, if it didn't, what you think, what your thoughts are, and what we can do better. We always appreciate input from our listeners. So I think we got a few new listeners this year, but this is good for us, and we got some kids. Hopefully we're going to get more, and we will see you in 2 weeks. So from Arizona, I'm Mark.
From the hills of Texas, I'm Jay.
You have been listening to the Park Flyer podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your next visit. Please give our show a star rating and review, and feel free to email us your questions, topics, or suggestions to parkflyerpodcast@gmail.com.